All right. We are back once again as the summer season has wrapped up and we are well into the fall season of anime. We want to take a look back at everything we watched last season and give you our takes, our opinions, how we felt about the summer's offerings. So we're just going to kind of hop right into it. Not much else to say.
We do want to mention that there will be heavy spoilers in this episode.
Yeah, this is the
We
spoiler
will talk
episode.
about like the entire show for most of these shows.
So if we get to a show and you haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, then just skip ahead. Starting with one where I'm sure we'll talk about spoilers, Boku no Hero season 7.
Yeah, season 7, like near the end of the show, we are talking heavy spoilers for this show here.
I have neither read nor seen this shit, and yet I know some of the spoilers because they were memed into oblivion.
They were memed into oblivion.
Did you really? I didn't see any.
That's crazy.
With what's her name, when she died, everyone was like, all the Yuri shit. It was in my spheres.
Oh, you mean the choke? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but
okay.
let's
get into it.
We got an order to go through. I read the manga, so I know everything that happened. Tim, how did you feel about the season?
With all the warnings everybody was giving me, like, oh, the war is when everything goes to shit. Like, I had a lot of problems with it for sure, but I don't think the war was necessarily that bad. Like, I think his creativity with like creating the cage and how they like dictated did the war fight and played out in the power systems were all fine. I think the like quote unquote characterization of all the characters during this show was complete nonsense. Like Himiko's thing was kind of dumb and ridiculous with Ashoka. I think Dabi's like tantrum that he's like throwing in the middle of the war was kind of ridiculous. But like and then fucking One for All having his like regression phase going on was also like kind of what the fuck. But like I think I was expecting a lot worse going to the show, and I was mostly okay with how the macro fight was kind of playing out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, I think this arc has a lot of pacing issues. It has a lot. The entire second half of the show has a shit ton of pacing issues, because you could tell that Horikoshi wants to like just finish this story. Like, he's tired of it, so he's just like, I'm speedrunning through everything. But like, because of the anime, like, slowing down the pace a little bit here and there, I think it goes to its benefit. Like, it actually like you get the big emotional moments hit much harder because of that. Like, I think
emotional moment that really hit for me was the scene at the hospital where they're like talking about the like mutants, the people who like have that physically look different, and how they're all like, what's the word? Not
discriminated against?
Discriminated against. And then the guy was like trying to stand up for and be like, this is not how you make the change. Like, that kind of hit me, because like, but like I think the rest of the scenes I didn't really like connected with them as, I don't think it hit as hard as they probably should have, because it kind of felt, I don't want to say forced, but it felt kind of weird to have this intense war going on, and then they have like, here's the Todoroki family drama unwrapping itself for like 3 episodes. It's like, what's the fuck's going on?
I think it's funny that you actually like were invested in the whole mutant war thing, because like people really hate that like it just showed up out of nowhere during the war arc. It should have been like in the story, like from the beginning, and like it should have like built up to it, but like it just never showed up until then.
I agree. It probably should have get its own arc segment, but I think it was better executed than some of the other stuff in this show.
Yeah.
Like Himiko Choka's and the whole Jin part was kind of weird. I think most of the stuff is kind of, I think all the characterization that they're trying to do in this war arc is kind of weird, honestly. I don't think any of them kind of like vibe with me, but I think the fights and his creativity with how the war is playing out is good for My Hero standards.
Yeah.
Which are incredibly low. Well, they can be. Yeah. They're peaks and troughs.
Yeah, but like the My Hero like peaks, like My Hero's never been like a JJK action fight scene. It's always been like a hype kind of show where like we don't care about this like the fight sequence, we just care about like the one punch that like has a big impact.
Sure.
Yeah. It's so it's
Tim.
always been that kind of show. Yeah.
Tim, how did you feel about like the big, huge Omega spoiler about Bakugo's death?
Wait, really?
You didn't get spoiled on that? No, Chris, did you not get spoiled on that either?
No, I didn't know that happened.
Didn't happen yet.
No, Tim, he's dead.
That didn't happen yet.
Yeah. With all for not all for one for Shigaraki like hitting Bakugo's heart, like
I don't
he
think that
he
happened.
is dead. He is dead.
Did that happen?
Yes,
Like Tim's losing track of the season.
it happened like in the middle, like episode like 16 or something.
Was it high enough impact that Tim forgot?
Dude, okay,
Did he die? I don't think
he
died.
dies. He dies in
I
that
know
scene.
I thought Genus did some shit to his like. heart
They're
to keep him
they're trying
alive.
to restart his heart.
I don't think
Well-
he's like dead yet.
I mean, Juan knows. He's read the manga.
I know. I know.
Well, I don't
But,
think
like-
the anime has ever announced him as like dead.
Yeah, the manga's done.
The manga's done.
Yeah, but
Like-
I don't think the anime has like marked him as dead. That's
So
what I'm
maybe
saying.
that's
I
gonna
know he
happen
had
in the
this
next
fight
season.
with Shigaraki and he got his shit beat up, and then Genus was like, "Let me use my life to stitch his heart and pump his blood." And I think that's where he like checked out for the season.
Yeah,
think he
but like
ever
after
came back
that,
to
like
him.
they don't check back on him. But like essentially, he is essentially dead at this point.
Okay, well, I did not know that. He did not seem dead in the. Well, it didn't seem like he was going to die in the anime. I felt like they were
Dude,
going to
that
put some,
whole like flashback sequence of him like, like, oh, I've been a bad person. Like I want to become a good person. Like
Yeah, but
All
that's the
Might
kind
was
of
my
shit
hero and
that my
stuff.
hero's been doing the entire season. Like every single like villain / hero has been having like a weird flashback characterization moment, which I think is very dumb of the show. That's the biggest part I have on this war arc
Taken
is
from
like
Demon
they
Slayer.
feel like they want to like expedite and be like, let me shove all this characterization in this.
Yes, no,
Death
I mean that's the
War
whole
thing.
problem with the war arc is that like Horikoshi's like speed running through every single character moment that he had like planned.
But yeah, so that wasn't really strange to me because they've been doing that the entire like season essentially.
Yeah,
Was he really dead?
Tim finds out.
This is the best. This is the best reaction I could have gotten.
Now
Actually,
I need to like go back and watch that episode and actually like.
it's a good like it is a good sequence. Like I was actually like, damn, that hurts. Like I know what
From the
happens
manga
and
or
like
the
fuck
anime?
that hurts.
Did you watch
In
it in
the
the
anime, in the manga, I'm like fuck that. I don't like it. It feels so cheap in the manga, but like in the anime, like there was like a whole like 15-minute sequence of him like flashing back through his life. Like it hurts. It hurts to see this kid die.
Which episode was it?
Like episode 16 or 17.
16 or 17?
Yeah, so something in there. Like I'm pretty sure that the title of the episode is called like Death of a Friend or something like that.
Death of a
obvious.
friend. There is no episode called that in this
episode is
season.
called Bakugo fucking dies.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's no episode called Death. Has the word death in it.
The episode
Okay.
was named actually Tim. Make sure you don't miss this one. Anyway, we gotta move on at some point.
Well, okay. One last thing. Tim, how'd you feel about the last episode about Iron Might?
I don't.
Like Iron Man.
He basically became Iron Man. He was like, I'm quirkless, so I'm gonna become Iron Man and fight one for all. And I'm like, he had his time to shine like 3 times already. I think they should just let the guy become a background character. He should just retire on the beach somewhere.
It is a little late.
we really don't need him here. We didn't need Iron Might.
Iron Might as a concept is one of the biggest ass pulls in the entire series. But god damn it, was that fight cool as fuck.
Was it cool?
I thought it was cool as fuck. Like, okay, All Might is my favorite character. Like from season 1, he was my favorite
Okay,
character.
so you're invested.
I'm absolutely invested in All Might. So like,
I think the idea that someone can just put on a bunch of equipment and suddenly be on the level as All For One is kind of ass pulling.
I mean, like that's the thing. Like,
It's a shonen.
Iron Might's suit, like it doesn't give him the power of One For All. It gives him the power of like every quirk from Class 1A.
And that's
which
kind
is a-
of like
That's ridiculous.
It's It's ridiculous, but like fuck, dude, he does it so cool.
All right. You know what? If it's Raw, I guess, but I guess your mileage may vary. All right.
But also the last scene of the season is him dying.
Oh, All Might also dies?
Question mark?
Question mark.
Question
Okay.
mark?
See, I think that one.
He
That
does
one.
not die.
I was gonna say that one.
Dude,
feels
he is
more...
pierced by One for All.
He's not pierced by all for one. He just went like full like throttle mode, activating all the powers at once or some shit like that.
And that
Yeah.
drained his
But like,
balls and
but
Elias died.
he's like about to ram him, and then like All Might's just like laughing in his face, like he's
What-
taunting him.
where
It's
does
so
this-
cool.
Where does the season end? Before, so y'all, I can get y'all to stop arguing about what happened in the show. That
He
aired.
shot the pinky in him, and then he just activated his suit, and
Yeah, what
That's where
is
the
it? A
season
cliffhanger? Where
ended.
are we
It's a
leaving?
cliffhanger ending.
Okay, and then
he
season
did not get strike.
season 8 is in 2025 sometime.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so,
Bones can fucking finally be free to make other television. God bless.
I would have preferred if the final season was like a movie, because like there's like enough left to like you could just fit it into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, sure.
But like there's also enough left to fit it into a 12-episode season.
So they're just gonna do that because padding.
Yeah.
I do not think you know where the season ended, Juan, because he is 100% alive in.
No,
I'm
in the post-credit scene, like there's a scene of like a poster of All Might and then like blood all over it. So like it's implying that he died at that moment.
Or that he's not doing well. Either way,
Yes.
we gotta move on. Clearly.
Yeah.
So what's the overall takeaway, Juan? Are you gonna wait till the end to properly? It's just that it's getting a little stupid and he's clearly rushing, but it's still entertaining.
Well, no, okay. So like my opinion about the manga is that like the entire ending kind of sucks, but like the anime is actually doing a better job of like slowing the pace down, because like, or at least for me, because like I didn't read the manga like as it was coming out. I was waiting for like batches for like the big moments to hit.
Okay.
So like I remember when Bakugo died, like I like binged the manga up to that point, and then when I heard Iron Might showed up, I binged the manga up to that point, and like I feel like that's like not a good way to enjoy the series.
Probably
like
not.
I think watching it. I think, well, yeah, watching the season like play out, like I think that's a better experience to experience this arc if you're like really invested in the characters.
Okay.
Like I was.
Sure.
You know?
That makes sense.
So, it's a better watch as an anime than it was in the manga.
All
Even
right.
though the manga art is really fucking good.
No,
Because
it is.
Horikoshi's
I've seen a bunch of
goated.
screenshots from this arc, and I was like, damn, I can't believe that this guy actually is talented after all this time.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. This has been our yearly Boku no Hero Academia update.
Come
Yeah,
back
I
next
can't
year
wait.
for
The
last
actual finale. Maybe
I
I'll read
can't
the
wait
manga.
to finally be done with it.
Maybe I'll
Yeah,
read the last.
I
Just
think
for
you should.
fun.
No, you should read the manga like all the way through.
I mean, I read a good 50 chapters of it, like when it started a billion years ago, but
so like the first
season basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we gotta move on
Probably.
to
Yeah,
the
let's
other
go.
Boku show.
Okay.
All right. Next up, this is Boku no Suma wa Kanjo ga nai. My wife has no emotion.
Man, what's going from that to this, huh?
Yeah, yeah, you know.
Oof. All right, the premise of the show sounds like a bad idea, and well, the execution didn't really fall from the tree. This is not the first time we've had a robot ex-human romance before. Plastic Memory probably being the most famous of them all. But all of them having had the robot acting like a human and not really a robot, where there wasn't really any difference between a normal romance and a robot ex-human robots, and now we know why that's the case. Because watching this like grown-ass like mid-20s, early 30s, I don't know how old he is, middle-aged looking man confess his love and try to be romantic with the equivalent of a toaster that has no concept of romance is as awkward and cringe as you think it would be, and it was kind of tough to have to sit through that.
I'll be real, if she literally was a toaster, like she was like a more robot-y looking robot, that's much funnier of a concept than I would watch that.
I think it would be funny the guy's delusional and he was like in love with his toaster oven for some goddamn reason, but like
Yeah, if his toaster ever talked to him.
That being said, when the show isn't trying to shove this like awkward woman's plot down your throat, the main duo actually has some good chemistry, and it's actually a pretty enjoyable experience, mostly because they added another character, which is their like quote-unquote child Mamoru, who is easily the highlight of the show and is really hard carries, and it's a line I kind of want to adopt to myself. But all in all, it probably would have been fine if they didn't go so heavy into this. Let me love this inanimate object who doesn't know what love is, but like eventually she kind of knows what love is, but it's still like a very awkward path to get into.
Not to completely derail you, but if you want a product like a movie, it's a movie that explores that exact same theme, watch DreamWorks The Wild Robot, because that's literally what that is about, is a robot learning what love is and how to be emotional, and it's done very well. That's my segue. I just watched that last weekend. It was great. Time of
Eve also kind of hits similar topics. It doesn't go quite into romance, but it's kind of about like robots have feelings and the actual like
there's plenty of media that have explored robots having feelings.
Yeah, but if we want to go into like anime route, then that's probably the better.
There's even some games. Take. You can make an argument that Kingdom Hearts. I'm done now. the hook is yanking me off the stage. Anyway, so would you say probably not a recommend for this one at the end of the day?
Not a recommend. If you do watch it, I would skip the first like 4 or 5 episodes.
I feel like you have to skip a show.
That's a lot to skip.
The romance easily gets like introduced heavily and it gets tossed out the window like right afterwards, where they're more or less like a normal 2 people living together, and he doesn't try to be like, oh, can I hug you? Can I like give you a kiss or something? It's just like it quickly becomes like a normal ass show, and it's totally like actually kind of enjoyable when it's a normal show. Mostly because, like I said, because the Mamoru guy who's like the straight man in the couple, but he's also kind of a child, and it's kind of like it's a good dynamic to have him in the mix.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, Code Geass, Stuck in a Rose. Man, Code Geass really cannot get a break here. The anime series takes place shortly after the movie
Resurrection.
They had Resurrection.
Yeah.
Because that is canon.
Like shortly after?
Not shortly after, but like within like a generation.
Is Lelouch in
so
this
a
shit?
good amount of years.
Okay, Lelouch is in this shit.
I don't know like how many years, but you know, all the main characters in the first season are alive, but they're like cameo alive and not no, they're still like they're on the same age, but they're the main set of cast. They introduced a whole new set of cast, which I fully believe is the way to go if you want to continue milking this franchise. Like Lelouch does exist and CC Lelouch, but they have like 20 seconds of screen time throughout the entire series.
I also agree that's the way to do it if you're gonna do it.
The problem is that they have this full cast of characters that all have this very interesting backstory, more or less, or like, you know, they have like a potential to grow as characters and be interesting, but they shove it all into 12 episodes when this show easily needs at least double that, if not like a whole 2 seasons. And the end product feels very half-baked. Also, I have issue with the premise, because the premise is people come back and people try to resurrect Britannia to make like Neo Britannia, and they come back and they occupy Japan again. And I'm like,
we did this already.
Just let Japan like be free for once. Go take over another country.
It's sort of the Star Wars The Force Awakens of the Code Geass franchise.
Yes, it's basically that, and it's so tiring because like it's been a done concept. You can do a new plot line or something.
That's so lazy.
But yeah, I really think the show had a lot they want to do. There was a lot of interesting characters and a lot of like interesting backstories that they like started introducing, but they just kind of just steamrolled it down in favor of getting to a quick ending. I feel like they wanted more episodes, but they only got like 4 movies or 12 episodes, and this is what we end up with, which is a shame. That being said, it's still Code Geass. I think the mechas and fights still holds up, and the characters still all bare bone. You know, you can see the potential, and they're still kind of interesting, but it just could have been so much better, which it's a little bit sad to see.
Oh yeah, and just for context, Code Geass is like still your favorite anime of all time, right?
No, yes.
That's what you said. I went back and was listening to our very first episode the other day, and you did say that when we all went around and said our favorite anime, that's what you said. So at least as of 2 years ago, that was your answer.
I think Code Geass up to season 2 is my favorite. I don't think I've been a big fan of
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the franchise. I'm talking about the real show.
The original show.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if It holds a special place in my heart. I don't know if it's like definitely my like favorite
So
/ best anime.
I'm only establishing this to say that you're definitely the person that should be critiquing the new one then, because you're invested. You're in the sauce. So
Sure.
okay. All right, let's move on. Next up, so Isekai Suicide Squad. Okay, look, we tried to watch this. It wasn't even terrible. It just was. It was okay.
It was mid.
It was just
mid.
It was mid, and it was honestly, it was kind of boring. And that's, of anything that this could be, I can't. I'll be honest about this. The original Suicide Squad movie, which I hate, which I think is atrocious, is not boring. I will give it that. It is at least entertaining enough to get you through a sitting. But like, dude, there's just not much going on here. I don't know. The fantasy world's kind of boring. Maybe more intrigue gets introduced in the episodes that we missed, but I don't know. We didn't even officially drop this. We just were like, we watched 3 episodes and then we're like, yeah, we'll get back to this, and then we just didn't get back to it.
Oh, I dropped it.
Okay,
I'm like,
well-
I'm bored with this. I don't care to find out more about this show.
Yeah, I actually spent most of episode 3 throwing a birthday party for my cat instead of watching the episode.
Did you actually?
Yes.
That's
I realized halfway through, oh, it's Stinker's birthday. It's Suicide Squad. I don't have to pay attention.
the real reason Logan didn't pay attention is because Anime Joker was in only 1 episode.
Exactly.
He's in.
I know
I'm
he
sure
shows
he
up.
shows up
I'm
later,
sure
yeah.
he shows up
All right,
later.
and then Tim finished
But I'm not
it, so
sitting through.
tell us about the rest of it real quick.
Suicide Squad is pretty much the definition of like all style, no substance. Like each episode more or less had like one or so flashy animation sequence battle action thing that was like, oh yeah, this is Wit doing Wit things. But like the stories was so meh and so much dribble that it really like, you know, this is the thing where like the animation can only get you so far, and if the story sucks, which is surprising because it's the fucking Ray Zero creator who wrote this. So you would think he would, you know, be more creative with the thing and not make a generic pump your ass isekai.
I really think he phoned it in. I really think this is a check for him. And you know what? Get that back, I guess. But like, I don't think his heart was in it.
I think the quote unquote twist with the Joker being like kind of the big bad was kind of dumb, and the Queen being the evil boss was also very. There was just so many dumb plots that I was really just mentally checked out of the show halfway through, and it was at the point where like not even the Wit. You know, I came here knowing it wasn't gonna be great, and I knew that from like even the trailer. I was like, oh, I just want to see cool fights going on, but like it reached a point where even the cool fights wasn't enough to sustain me.
And also, honestly, the production was kind of bad the rest of the time in a way that was not. It wasn't terrible, but it was worse than it should have been, I think, is how I would say.
I think people troll. The people like think it's really bad when it's not actually that bad. Like it's a lot worse than people make it out to be. It was just that one episode, I think, with the dragon. I don't know if you guys even got to that fight where like the background like was out sync from the rest of the show, so it looked really bad. But the rest of the show was fine. I mean, it was fine by anime average. I don't think I have any complaints about the animation quality, other than that I expected a lot more, and I got mid.
All right. That's anything else?
I think my biggest problem with the show is that, you know, it's Isekai Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad in a fantasy world. It writes itself. And the studio like legitimately thought that. They're like,
yeah,
we can just get away with it.
Just make it as boring and generic as possible.
I think I forgot to mention this before, but like also it helps that it doesn't help that the characters themselves don't actually feel anything like the characters in that portraying.
Yeah.
Like Clayface doesn't feel like Clayface. He's like this like broke wannabe actor isekai.
Well,
Chunin.
in the Harley show, like, yeah, he acts like that, but like he's like as a monster, like he's like a Clayface monster.
Yeah,
but like he has that like big like boisterous personality.
It's just, I mean, like even Harley and all that stuff, they don't actually feel like the characters from the comics. None of that personality really transferred over, except for maybe like Joker, because he had like 10 seconds of talking. So he didn't have time to like ruin his character. But the rest of them did not feel like the actual in comic character. So I mean,
I can
at
see that being a
point,
complaint.
why did you bother bringing them over? You know.
True.
Yeah, sorry. This one was this an Adult Swim collab?
No, it was
an
HBO.
HBO, that's right. It was on HBO Max. Okay. I will bite my tongue on Adult Swim collabs until we review Uzumaki next season. Okay. Next up is Gigi Harem, which I think only Tim watched also.
Yeah. We got a string of Tim shows here.
Yeah, decent bit of Tim shows. Gigi Harem is a show that I was at first kind of apprehensive about going first because I wasn't sure how well. This was a show that I said was gonna be like live or die by the voice acting of the show because it's the premise is the girl acts out a one person harem for the guy that she likes and there's like a cute romance between them, and I wasn't sure if Hyman could like do 5 different roles. That sounds not Hyman, but like it actually worked really well in her favor and it ended up being a very cute show. That being said, I think I have some issues. I think the show is pretty simple and basic. It's literally just like, guy and girl in high school having cute hijinks, teasing each other, and then they go dating and go to college and get married at the end. So they do progress and stuff. But my problem with that is like it's like the main guy is a Joker and he's a Joker kind of character and he's like flirting with the fake 5 harem characters that she makes up to flirt with him. And at some point the like relationship evolves to like where he like takes it more seriously, where he's not like, oh, I want to go talk to your like tsundere persona or your like little sister persona or something. He's like, I want to like give a gift or like look at you as like you the girl herself and not like one of your characters. And I think that was a really nice progression of their relationship and him maturing and facing her. But it only lasts like 1 episode and they kind of go back to the whole like let me start flirting with like the 5 to him thing, which is a bit of a disappointment to me because I could see the progression and they immediately just like reverted back. And I was like, what's the point of that? But at the end of the day, it was a very sweet, cute romance where like what you're getting into with these kind of shows, with these like kind of like wholesome kind of like love crow kind of things. And I think this is probably one of the best ones in this field, even though there's not too many in the animes right now. And I had a really good time with it. And I think, yeah, we can go on.
Another romance.
Yeah, Gimai Sekatsu.
Gimai Sekatsu. This one, I'm honestly surprised that a lot of other people will like it because I know that this is kind of my shit, but I was honestly surprised that it was so well received across the board from people. This is from the premise, everybody's like, oh, this is a guy and a girl become step siblings and they move in together. Here's some like domestic girlfriend, dumpster fire, garbage kind of shit. That's probably what everyone was thinking when they saw this premise. But it's literally anything but. It's a very earnest and very nuanced romance that has this like mellow and quiet tone to it. It's very kind of refreshing to see people like tackle them so seriously compared to like your everyday, romance in anime. And it says a lot when the author himself is such a fan of the adaptation that he's like removing himself from his work to make essay comments on each anime each week, kind of like discussing elaborating it in Twitter and giving his thoughts. I think that shows how much care that he has for this work, and it was very interesting to follow his like elaboration on the character's inner thought on the week-to-week progression. That being said, it's not like a 100% realistic anime kind of thing. They I think the characters act a bit too, I don't want to say unrealistic, but they act a little too mature for their age. Where it is unrealistic in the sense where like when you're in high school or something, you want to be mature and you want to act like you're an adult already, and that kind of is realistic in that sense. But they kind of take it a little bit to the extreme. But the fact that the romance took great care of like I said, with the nuance and developing the romance between those two to where it felt very natural emotion with the character growth was a big surprise and delight for me for this show. I was already a fan of this work long before the anime got adapted because I said in the preview that the artist was one of my favorites. So when he was working it, I got the light novel and started reading it, and I'm really content with how they handle this adaptation. For sure.
All right. There you go. If you're a fan of these kinds of romances. Okay. Next up is a very different show. Not a romance, I don't think. Maybe.
There could be romance elements. Who knows?
Yes, no romance, but I mean there is some like arranged marriage. Okay, so this is Karasu, and I think this is probably going to be the number one overlooked show of the year from people. It's not a show for everyone. I think I remember Juan trying to give the show a try, and it wasn't his cup of tea, and I knew that from the get-go that it wasn't his cup of tea. But it's a very intricate and well thought out political drama. It went from like a political drama marriage thing to this like murder mystery. The writing is phenomenal. And I really like tried pushing this onto Chris and Logan because they really like Heike Monogatari, which is similarly a political drama thing. And like if they cared for Heike anything past like the quote unquote it wasn't Shaft, it was like Science. What studio did it?
It was Science Saru.
It was Science. Okay. It was Science Saru. Beyond like the fancy Science Saru visuals, and they gave a shit about the plot at all. I think they would really love this one because unlike the Heike one, where there was like 20 characters, it was very confusing and like the story felt personally like a mess to me. This one was much more well written and thought out, and the twist and execution at the end of the political drama was pretty amazing, and that was really only the halfway point of the show, and it comes from this like Heike political thing that like somehow kept you captivated because I mean it helps when people die, a couple of people die, but like it went from that to like this murder mystery world building. The world is like nothing like where I don't want to spoil too much, that really kept you captivated throughout the end. It's a very unique experience from most other animes. The only thing I could really compare it to is Heike. That's why I keep bringing it up. But even Heike is like based on history, so it's very deep and heavy and not well adapted for animated storytelling. And I really don't know if Chris and Logan felt that with Heike watching it, but I honestly felt like super bogged down by it.
At times, but I think that it had enough good things going on with it that it was pretty consistently interesting and exciting to watch. The visuals are pretty incredible.
Yeah. The visuals for sure for Heike, but like I think it's not for everyone, like I said, because it is politics and there's a lot of talking in the first couple of episodes. But if you're any kind of a fan of a more kind of serious kind of this politic kind of thing, which isn't, I mean I say politics, but it's not like boring politics. It's like he has to get married and he has to like uncover like the true faces behind these 5 people who are like betrothed to him. Kind of dealio. It was good. It was interesting, and I really think people should give this one a try.
There you go. Yeah, it seemed interesting for sure. Next up is yet another romance. Someone else could read this. I didn't watch this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Magadoshi Dahlia wa Utsumakanai. I do not have the English name up right now.
It's Dahlia in Bloom, crafting a fresh start with magical tools.
Thank you, Chris. All right. So I watched up to episode 4, maybe 5 of the show. I can't remember. I enjoyed what I saw. Like, this is like a very like nice little romance. What caught my attention more though was like the world building in episode 1. Like the way that they described the magic system was really interesting, and like it really like caught my attention. Like I really wanted to watch more of it, but I just didn't have like enough time to watch the rest of it. From what I remember, like the synopsis like basically covers the entire like first 3 episodes. Like she's raised by her dad gets an apprentice, they get engaged, and the dad dies, and the spouse is like, I don't want to be engaged anymore. So now she's free to go date around now. And in episode 4, I remember that she like met a knight. And like I don't know how far that romance went. Tim, tell me the rest of the show.
So you forgot to mention what like an asshole the guy she was engaged with was.
Yes, he was a huge
such
asshole.
A douche, but it was like, oh, I don't like your hair color. It sticks out too much. Go change your look. And she was like, okay, it makes you happy. And it was such an asshole of a character. And he was like, oh, after your dad died, I fell in love with someone, so I need you to like leave the house that you helped buy. Such an asshole. It was so satisfying to see her like get away from him and actually be able to be true to herself and be free and start inventing, live her life on her own. Her like meeting the knight was a nice. It's obvious that they like each other and they'll probably eventually get together, but the show makes it very adamant that they'll like don't want to push it down that direction. They like spend a lot of time together, but they never really like go do anything down the romantic path. I think the main appeal of the show was watching her invent stuff with the magical system in the world. Like they invent magical weapons. They invent even basic stuff like soap or a soap dispenser or like foot fungus cream or something like that. Some shit like that. Just some shit. But like watching them like integrate the magic system that they have into her inventing was always a fun thing to watch, and seeing her just be like a powerful free woman just roaming around was fun. Good.
So you're saying that they don't really go into the romance of the show? It actually turns out more like Dr. Stone, where they're just like inventing stuff?
It's more inventing stuff, but
just so like hints of romance in here and there.
I mean, it's very obvious that he like digs her and she kind of seems for him, but they never pushed the issue.
Mm-hmm. Then like, where does the season end? Like, is there like any sort of climax?
It kind of ends at a non-stopper point where it's just like, and she's just, there's no like climax or story beat that they like reach an ending to. It's just her continuing to do her daily life thing. That's why I said like when you watch the first episode, you kind of more or less know how the show is, because it's just more of that. And if you enjoyed the first 4 episodes, then the rest of the show is more of that, just varied and different, and arguably a little bit better because you get to hear more about the guy's character in his past and her like starting her own company to like make stuff. It was for a show that seemed very, what's the word, like normal or generic or something. It was a delight to see how much the show like stood out from the magic system to her just being this like very cool character who just wanted to live her life and invent stuff.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
Do you want to talk about Make Heroine now?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's do.
Let's go. Okay. Finally, a show that more than one of us watched. Let's go. Okay. I'll just put this up front that I did not have quite enough time to finish this, so I have not seen episodes 11 and 12. I will be commenting on it based on that. That's my context. Anyway. Juan, do you want to kick us off on this one?
Sure, I guess. Okay. For me, this is hands down the best new show of the season. Like, it is some of like the wittiest dialogue that I've ever experienced since like Monogatari. Like every situation is just absolutely ridiculous, and like every joke they make lands. Like the fucking episode where the MC and the another girl like are like following the other couple around, and then like the episode ends with his shirt saying country, but then like they cut it off so it says NTR. Fucking
that
perfect.
Is a top tier joke. You don't get better than that.
Holy Sasaga animators.
This show is very funny, and it's able to do that without really at its core, I think, being 100% a comedy, because at its core, it's a rom-com, it's a dramedy. There's some serious character beats as we're going through the whole thing, but like, dude, when it wants to be, it is funny. And at the same time, I'm just gonna have to heap a lot of praise on this show because it just looks good. And I don't know.
Oh, this is one of the best produced shows of the season.
I don't know if it's because
of the
this
year
one
maybe
stands out in particular, which I think it does. I think it has some of the best character animation in any, like, especially for like a standard looking show. You know what I mean? It's just very immaculately done. It reminds me of KyoAni. And so the fact that I'm saying that, like, props to A1 for putting this out, because I think that this is pretty close to the tier of their level of detailed character animation, Like, think of Hibike and the millions of background characters, and then think of this show and the millions of background characters that are extremely well fleshed out and like have their own personalities that come across really easily. Just really
Yeah.
impressive stuff. And also, like, I like all the main characters quite a bit.
Every character is great. Like all the little quirks, like even like that one, the most normal girl of all time. She's not like even like a student council president, but like she's like in the student council, I guess. And she's just like super weird.
Yeah.
Like she's like a zombie. She's like a living zombie.
There's a lot of freaks in this show. Just a lot of weird little freaks. Both of the teachers are weird little freaks.
The nurse being like she wants to see these kids fuck. It's like a little too weird.
But yeah.
Like there's like a scene where she's like peeking in on the main two characters, like recording them because like they're like showing an intimate moment.
I think this show, and I think anime rarely do this, but this show, more than most others I've seen, can get away with its sort of raunchy and like overly horny humor at times, just because the payoff of the jokes are actually that funny usually. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it to you this time. You're doing it right. So that's nice.
I give it to them like every time because like again like the way they actually write the jokes is actually really good. Unlike another show this season,
it's just
we'll
really,
get there.
We'll get there. It's just really tight dialogue writing, and I always love that shit. But all the characters bounce off of each other very well. Obviously, it's witty. Yeah, I don't know. Tim, do you have more? I feel like we've been going crazy. Do you have any thoughts on this one in particular?
I really like the comedy in this one. Like you said, the like not just need a bit from like the NTR bit, from like just the like how they are like really with the writing when they connect the jokes. Where like the first arc is like Anna being like, you know, being cucked by her childhood friend, and then the next arc it goes on to they introduce the Chica, and she's the homewrecker from the childhood friend, and they like has to glare off, and it like, you know, it's a very fun like callback, you know, not back reference thing. Like got me really laughing at that bit. I don't necessarily agree with the background characters being that fleshed out compared to like, you know, like keep other shows. Like the background characters are great, they're funny, they do the gags that they're meant to be, but that's really all they are in the show. They're just characters for gags that shows up randomly on screen. We don't know anything about them, but like I guess that's all they need to be, so I'm okay with that. But I don't also want to like up and be, oh, the background characters are so great, because mainly it really is just the main.
I was mainly talking about
forecast.
I was mainly talking about the visuals. I just like every single background character is like
sure.
distinguishable and unique. And even we're at the end and they're doing. I just watched the festival episode, and you see a bunch of them like interacting and doing their own thing in the background throughout the episode. I just thought it was a really nice touch.
I think the show has, I don't want to say it has, the show has a lot of comedic moments, but it also has a lot of very serious moments.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the serious moments are incredible.
It's incredible, but it's always on and off with the other. It's they always go like heavy in comedy, and then they get very serious for an episode, and they go kind of heavy in the comedy again and go back and forth. It's not, they don't blend the two very well, which is totally fine, but it's a bit of a whiplash at times, a bit, because they get really serious, and that moments are great for the character moments. Like each girl gets her own arc, and especially like Kamari's arc for episode 11 was, I think, easily the best one for them all.
Dude,
and I
that
love
episode 11 is
seeing their growth.
So good.
That being said, there are some weaker ones. I think Lemons in particular was kind of the most.
I don't know. I liked hers.
Her resolution was really good.
Her resolution was fine. I think her building up to that resolution was kind of on the weaker side,
because like it was mostly in the comedy for that one. Because like that was the NTR scene.
The trailing date was, you know, good, but like afterwards when she ran away kind of thing, it took, I think. I still liked it, but it obviously nothing. I wish every arc was as good as Kamari's, because hers was, I think, like the peak highlight of what the characterization could have been, and I don't think the other two girls reached that point. Granted, they were both really good, but hers was easily hands down the best, and I think they really portrayed her like nervousness, awkwardness really well, and her struggles to like overcome not just the writing but the voice acting too. You could really feel it. And I think they did a good job with that one.
Yeah, speaking of episode 11, like, and how incredible the way that arc climaxes, it is so weird that episode 12 is anime original, and like it just feels like an OVA to me. Like I feel like the show should have ended at episode 11. Like that would have been a perfectly good conclusion. But then like they do this to like
11 is too heavy of an episode to end on. I think this show started off very lighthearted gag with, you know, him walking in on Anna being rejected and doing the indirect kiss thing. It started off very, you know, funny and lighthearted and kind of silly, and I think it should end the same way too. I think if they ended on that like very dramatic confession thing, it would have been a little weird. It would have felt a little weird to end on that.
But like it felt so cathartic, you know? So like for them to like go back into like silly mode, like it feels really weird to me.
But that's what the show is. The show is a lot of silliness.
I'll
It
come
is,
back
but,
to
like-
you with my hot takes and personal opinions when I watch this soon. Maybe I'll edit
I guess you
it.
can.
I might edit
yeah,
it.
you can
I
edit
might
yourself
edit it
in.
and react to it later. But anyway. Hey, it's Chris from the more recent past. I am editing this episode now, and I'm going to come with my take. So I watched episodes 11 and 12, and I actually really liked episode 12. I don't really know what Juan is talking about. I thought it was an excellent follow-up to the more serious arc. I thought it did a great job of reintroducing us to all the different cast members. It was really well animated. It was extremely expressive. It was a ton of fun. It was hilarious. It brought the focus back to the blue-haired girl, whose name I forget, when she's kind of been on the back foot for the last couple of episodes, and kind of focused on her relationship with the main character, the sort of will they, won't they, which I'm sure if we get more seasons, maybe we'll start developing that. I don't actually know if the main character will ever end up with any of these girls, but at least the tension is there, the possibility is there. I loved this. I thought it was the perfect conclusion to the show. No complaints, 10 out of 10. Great show. I loved this show. I thought it was phenomenal. I think it's an easy highlight of the entire year. Actually, it is definitely a contender for OP and ED of the year, and it has multiple very
with
good
three,
EDs.
three different EDs.
So
All very good EDs.
yeah, so stellar stuff there.
I think my favorite one is still the lemon one, because like
It's really,
God,
really
that
good.
is
the lemon
it's
was good.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, even with my complaint about like episode 12, like I think this is still easily like a top 10 show of the year for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Highly recommend to anyone who wants to watch a good ass rom-com.
Yeah, if you ever watch anything that is close to this genre, even if you're tired of it, this is like one of the best I've seen in a while.
Should I go as far as to say it's like an instant classic? Like this should be like
I think it's that
in
one,
everyone's list.
That's a
I
little
don't
harder
go
to
that
do
far.
for shows like this, but I definitely think it is one of the best of this genre.
I also think Heroine's a show you watch after you go through the sludge, because it does a lot of things to subvert the genre that it's
yes,
in.
it
So
feels,
like you not knowing the existing genres that it's subverting and making fun of and poking at, it definitely would hit a lot less on the comedic
it
side
is
for
definitely
sure.
a huge breath of
So-
fresh air if you were used to watching crap. So
I wouldn't be like watch this from the get go. I think I would say watch some of the sludge and then watch this one and realize just how much the show is better
it
when it takes
improves on
advantage
its
of those.
peers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
This is like a level 3 weeb show. You gotta go to
I
level 2.
totally
I
enjoyed it
suppose.
without any of that context, but I do agree that the context makes it better. All right, next on to one of the new PA Works originals from this season. This is Mayonaka Punch, the fun show about a bunch of vampires making a YouTube channel with a disgraced former YouTuber. So in very similar fashion to Oshidoko, Mayonaka Punch explores what it's like to have haters online and to be a online public figure that has a bit of a negative impact, and like, you know, what people be writing mean comments on YouTube, and people are harass you and send death threats. Mayonaka Punch takes it in a bit more of a comedic direction than Oshi does, but I think it still is able to, you know, handle that topic pretty well. I like the show a lot. I think the color palette's really nice. I liked all the characters. I think it was really funny. I don't think it was as consistently funny as Make Heroine, but some of the peak moments were. like laugh out loud hilarious. I'm thinking specifically of the end of the concert episode in particular. After the power went out, and she had to
when
hunt
she
down.
was fighting underneath the cable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I don't know. There was a lot of twists and turns in this one. I think like the reveal that the one prissy head vampire was a fucking streamer was insane, and she code switches. Anyway, I like this a lot, even if I got Yuri baited. It's fine. It happens. I'm used to it now. Any other thoughts from my fellow people who watched this?
Oh shit, yeah, I watched the show. Mayonaka Punch, very fun show. Like like this comes out harsher than what I mean to. Like this is like a perfect seasonal show.
No, I agree with that. I don't think it's phenomenal by any means, like 10 out of 10. But I think this was very fun. But I do think it was a little clunky at times.
Mm-hmm. But like it was still fun. Like I don't regret watching the show. Like it's just a fun show. You mentioned the streamer competition episode, right? Because like that was easily the best episode of the season.
Yeah, he did. I think the stuff post streamers show was when I started warming up to the show a bit more. I think the show shines when it's being its wackiest, minus the few times we actually got serious and it was good. Like I think the singer arc was kind of nice. But I think the show mainly shines when it's being wacky, and I wish it leaned on it more because I feel like it wasn't really quite there for the first while. I am probably a little bit cold on this than the rest of you. It felt like the show was stumbling to find its identity for a bit, and by the time it found it, the show was over.
I can agree with that, yeah.
I think adding the flashback in the last 10 seconds of the show was kind of silly. I think I would have liked them and write it a bit more. Especially this original, and they had this full vision written out that they probably could have snuck it in better. I did love the gag with the kind of eye being the streamer chick. I think that was a great gag. But yeah, I do wish it found its footing a bit sooner, because I think I liked the wacky second half a lot more than the first half.
I do think that they had struggled to really give all of their cast members enough attention. Like I think the green-haired girl got a really sad backstory in one episode, so she feels a little bit more developed than the blonde girl, or the gambling addict. So I don't know.
Did either of the two get any development at all?
No, they were more meant to be background characters, I think.
The singer got a full-on dedicated episode backstory thing, but the rest of them are just, I like to gamble and I like to, I don't know what her other, what's the fucking blongest trope? I like to cook.
She cooks, yeah, she cooks, and she's also young, but not really. Anyway, I still give this show a lot of props. I think it had really good visuals. There were some really special moments that they played around with some of the camera stuff really well. It's a novel idea. I think it's executed well. It doesn't feel in any way like samey or leaning on vampire tropes. It was really its own thing, and I'm a big fan of creative originals, so I quite enjoyed this one and would pretty heartily recommend it, especially for this season. All right, let's move on to
Nia. I haven't talked Nia very much, especially since after the season 1 ended, we knew part 2 was coming, so I refrained too much from talking about it. But Nia, I want to start off by saying that this is not a replacement for the game. This is like an enhancement / add-on, so I would definitely recommend playing the game for this one. But what this anime does really well is that it brings to life a lot of the lore backstory thing that you only hear in passing in the game. It brings them to life in anime, some which is very nice. It's also just great to see this like masterpiece of a story, like anime in general, but like especially because you get to see a lot of the minor things that the game mentioned on screen is good. I think this had a rough production schedule between the delays and the things, but I still think A1 nailed it with the animation, and obviously the OST being from the game is like a godsend. But I think this is a perfect add-on for anyone who played the game, liked it, and wanted to see more, because it has pacing issues, because obviously they go through all, like, I don't know, was it 3 endings? Who played the Nier game in here? Did anyone play Nier in here?
No, Nier has been like at the top of my list.
That's crazy. Not a single Nier gamer in here.
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, Tim. If I watched Nier, I would have been watching the anime. Or if I played Nier, I would have been watching the anime.
Okay, I suppose. Okay, like I said, I wouldn't recommend anyone watch without playing the game, because it does do the entire all of the endings to the very, like, the true ending, quote unquote true ending of the game. So because they go through so much pacing, especially in the second part 2 season part section, it like really rushes through some of the more like emotional beats, and they skip over a lot of important things, which I think the game will cover for you. But it's just really nice to see these characters like in animation, to see the story adapted into play. I think they did the best they could, and they even like said through in the unshown part, just the lore, and it still hit for a lot of the scenes. So I think they did a great job with the adaptation and what they could, but definitely not a replacement for the game. So play that first for sure. Yeah, so Spice and Wolf was an anime I wasn't sure would age well in this day and age, but it still hits. And with the new soundtrack from Kevin Bacon and them retelling the story, it like, after watching this, I can fully say that I think this is like OG plus, where it's retelling the story with modern animation graphics, and I think they did a good job and didn't cut anything out and was actually more faithful to the source material this time. I think Hollow and Lawrence's dynamic and relationship is still 10 out of 10. New and old fans alike will have a great time with the adaptation, and they announced season 2, so they're going to move past what the original source material, the original anime adapted. I mean, they already did a little bit in this one, but they're going even more. So I'm very excited to see them actually finally adapt the rest of the show. It is a show that I think a lot of people are like taunted by, because it's like, oh, here's like quote unquote economics, and like this is gonna be boring, and I don't know anything about economics. But it's really very surface level thing. I think the biggest economic thing they talk about is like, I don't know, shorting, or like, yeah, like buying low and selling high. It's just some like dumb basic shit like that. It's not that hard to get into, and I think their dynamic is probably still one of the best in anime, and is why like Hollow is still like a talked about character to this day. Highly recommend for this one for sure. Especially for you three, since you guys have not seen any of the Spice and Wolves yet, and this is a great time for you guys to finally watch it.
Yeah, it's true.
Nudge.
Was Kevin Bacon doing this OST?
Yes.
It was Kevin Bacon, and like, I think it was just Kevin Bacon for this one. Yeah, he did all the OST for this one.
Did he have any songs that like popped off? Do you remember?
Yeah, he had like 1 or 2 for sure.
Okay, then I
he always does.
I want to go listen to them, because God, I am that man's
if
slut.
Kevin Bacon is what I need to do to like get people to watch it, then yeah, I will show Kevin Bacon. Even though I think his songs are probably, I don't want to say overrated, but I think he's more of a one-hit wonder. I think his main abyss is phenomenal.
Don't ever say that to me ever again.
I think his main abyss are phenomenal. I don't think his other soundtracks have hit the same for me.
I will admit, Juan, it's kind of true. He hasn't had many other breakout.
You want to talk about his Shield Hero soundtrack or his Bye Bye Earth soundtrack?
There's that one song in Bye Bye Earth that I'm like, wow, this got me really emotional just from the music alone.
I'm not trying to say he's like a hack or has no talent. He clearly does. I just feel like that
he does, but like I don't think like Main Abyss is obviously like peaks and bonds above everything else that he's made for anime.
No, I mean I do agree that like he works on shitty shows and he should be working on better shows.
I mean his shitty show has nothing to do with OST. OST can still slap even on like, you know, a more mid show. Like Kusuria was probably the closest thing, but Kusuria was like
also not really
him with 4 other people. And I think I like the other like 3 people's music more than his. I think I like one of them like a lot more than his. Like the one that I really liked was all like one musician. It wasn't Kevin Bacon. But yeah, I think I like him, but I think he's a bit overrated.
All right, we are not on speaking terms anymore. All
Right.
right,
I'm sorry.
next
Okay.
up, Nige Jozu no Wakagimi, Chris. Oh wait, no, the
No,
English name
Logan.
is the Elusive Samurai. I was just
Yeah,
asking.
the
if you knew
elusive
English name.
fourth podcaster.
Yeah.
So, how do you solve a problem like Nige Jozu? Like, I think that this has like quality issues in every direction. Like on every axis, it's kind of inconsistent. Like the visual quality ranges from like extremely good to CG horses. The comedy quality ranges wildly. The narrative quality, I think that's the most consistent, but even then, it's got some slow bits here and there. But like I think that the peaks of Nige Jozu are high enough, especially with like the visuals in some of those later fight scenes and the really like inventive presentation, more than just like here's the beams that are coming out and it looks very pretty and they're very well drawn beams or whatever. But like I'm thinking more like the fight at the end with the general is the first thing that comes to my mind when like
The
main
one
character guy whose name I
inside the
forget.
building.
Yeah, the one inside the building. When
Yeah, when he
main
finally learns
character
how to
guy
fight.
like
Yeah, okay.
yeah, when he like taps into the speed force and unlocks his shadow clone no jutsu, and that's how
Yeah.
they're like representing that he just dodges everything. That was just a really visually inventive fight. And I think that that's kind of emblematic of all the best moments of Nige Jozu. And then the like CG horses in episode 3 are emblematic of all the
Yeah.
worst moments in Nige Jozu. And in my mind, anime creation is about trade-offs. Like obviously if this could just look incredible all the time, they would have done that. And I think that, I would rather the inconsistent quality that occasionally reaches like really high highs than a more consistent but ultimately less impressive anime. And I like the Nige Jozu we have more than maybe a more consistent Nige Jozu that could have existed.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Even though I wish they would just try like 10% harder, just 10% harder on some of the motion shots that they've relied on CG for their main characters on the horses. I get it. I know horses are hard to animate, but like, come on, man. There is a lot of horse CGI in the show that didn't need to be there. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I think the obvious, visual like back and forth disparity aside, I think I had a lot of issues with the tonal issues as well. I think it's the fucking priest dude, whatever his name was.
That was a problem I pointed out even in the pre-read, is that the priest dude is so
he
off.
just throws me off so much. I think like this one gag of him making the fake quote praising him and the very second episode or something was funny, but other than that, he's like, this is like a very like grim kind of serious,
Yeah, except it's when it's not.
Take the country back. I never shoot to him, and he just throws me off. He's like, oh, this is. I see.
Yeah, it's like the
it's like
the author is like aware that you need to cut the wine with water or whatever and make some add some sweet to the bitter, and he doesn't know how much, and so he just dumps like an entire energy drink into the lager.
I don't think that's it at all. I think that we were tricked into thinking that Nige Jozu is a dark, violent, extremely violent historical like sort of action fantasy show with some silly wacky moments as levity in between, and instead we have sort of a bordering on a comedy shonen that is mostly wacky bullshit with a couple of way out of tone serious moments splashed in between. And,
Chris is absolutely right.
And
which, like, can you blame us after that first episode?
No,
like,
no. I am not. We all got tricked. Everyone who watches this show is going to get tricked because they're going to watch like 100 people get their heads cut off and talk about the horror of this kid losing his entire family and then directly getting betrayed by the uncle that he thought. Like, it is dark in the first 2 episodes,
but
which is
like,
why
that's what captivated me into the show. This is
Yeah.
why I watched the show, and I didn't watch the show
And
to
it,
watch
like-
this wacky priest dude.
But it gets
glow his head.
It'll randomly switch back every once in a while, and it's always incredibly jarring. But it's effective. It does a very good job of making the villain seem like inhumanly evil. A lot of we should talk about the villains. Let's take a second.
The
to talk
villains
about
are my favorite part of this show.
Man, that scene.
I
at the very
love
end
I
with the
love hating them
Buddhist,
so much.
I love the main villain guy. He's like the range.
Oh,
in
dude, the
Demon
main
Self
villain
with the
is
Buddhist.
really good.
Yeah,
That last scene when he was like fighting the Buddhism, that it got me. Like they really set that scene up really
It's
well.
incredible.
No, the scene of him like talking to his brother and like
yeah, with the Buddhists.
Yeah, with
when
the
he was trying to
Buddhists.
Buddhist,
oh,
he was like,
that is the same scene.
"Correction."
Okay.
Yeah, that scene was like,
It's just
damn.
scary.
The rest of the villains though are like cartoony ass villain that is on the same level as the Shrine Priest dude. And
The
I'm like, I
eyes
cannot-
guy was the
get over
entire
him.
show. I was not expecting him to be like a main villain
Yeah,
constantly.
He really feels like a villain of the week, and then he was just kind of there. And, by the
And he's
I
actually
love
the most normal.
Yeah,
That's
he dawned on
crazy.
us by the end. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of like this guy now, even because
I did not like him. You guys
the
don't
I
rest
love
of
felt a
the
him.
little bad
villains-
for Eye Guy because he was surrounded by the other villains,
Who
and he
were
has to deal with that.
mostly
at his day
incompetent
job.
and getting killed by children. But I will say I liked the boss rush at the last arc. I think that was a good escalation. We were introduced to several wacky villains, and I think much like in Rurouni Kenshin, several wacky villains in a row works a lot better than one single wacky villain as the focus. So
What
it
was
also
the boss rush?
at the end, it was just like because the main general had his
The
four
general, the
guys, and they were
Joker,
kind
the
of
other
mini
three
boss
guys.
fights. Yeah, there were mini boss fights
when they
against
were
all of
running
them.
away, and then his
But
friend
honestly,
had
a
to
lot of them
fight
got
him.
jobbed, which is appropriate, I think, for the power level, and it was exciting to watch. But I liked that a little bit better. So, but no, yeah, like I said, it's I think at its core an action comedy, which is weird to say when you watch Nige Jozu because it doesn't feel like it's going to be that. I have never had a show ping pong the tone so aggressively and me not hate it completely because I just can't. I can't hate this show. It's way too much fun. The parts that work like show has some of the most striking animation and visuals in anything that has aired this year, including Frieren, including Dungeon Meshi, including what's the
Oshinoko.
Oshinoko is I was gonna say and like it's really batting up there with the best of the best when it is doing its thing, and the thing is it does. There are moments like that 5 or 6 times in the runtime of the show, and I think that I can't even say that for some of the other shows I listed earlier too.
The Buddha scene is it's so striking.
I'm thinking of the
Holy
one
shit.
in the ear episode 2 where he goes into like abstracts. There was one where it was like a history lesson that was also really abstracted. They're just the team. They let themselves get surreal in a way because and also there's all those anachronistic shit. They keep making anachronistic jokes too, which are always really funny.
I love the anachronistic jokes. They're so funny to me.
Like it's completely like fourth wall breaking, and you're like, oh yeah, it's like when
Which
cell
okay.
phones are.
By the way, that's a great joke. You guys all complain about the priest guy. My hot take is that he's actually really funny.
No,
and
see,
I
I
love
didn't
all
have
of
a
his
chance
jokes.
to cut in. I wouldn't say he's really funny, but Logan set him up to be very worryingly annoying in the pre-read, and I liked him much more than I thought I was.
I like him exactly the amount that the author wants me to like him.
Good
It's
for you.
great.
This was like a wacky comedy thing. I think I would love him a lot more.
I think it is a wacky comedy.
Because it is a comedy.
I know, but it is. But at the same time, I did not want it to be a comedy. I wanted it to be this dark, serious,
Yeah.
we claim the throne back thing. And this guy, every time he got into that kind of like mindset, this guy just butt his face in with his glowing head. And
Tim.
it's like, oh, let me just do something
I don't
wacky.
know.
Tim,
I
did you
feel
forget
like,
that this is made by the same guy that did Assassination Classroom? Like that man loves
I
the
wanna say
stupid
something.
shit.
As class was like the exact opposite. It was the perfect setup to be the wacky thing, and the very end it got serious.
Yeah, and it
But,
stayed
like, At
serious.
least you knew what it like.
Well, then you
Well, when you get in.
that it could get to a height point and then stay serious. I think that I expect that out of the show
The fact
eventually.
that it goes back and forth between the serious and silly and serious and silly is what gets me. I think it was like it started off with serious and got silly at the end. That's fine. If it starts silly and then serious way, then it was fine. But the fact that it goes back and forth so much
I would
is
never
what like throws me off my game.
I would
I like
never
it.
blame someone for bouncing off of this show because of exactly that, because I do agree it is a little off-putting. Like, it's a little hard to try to accept the show and take it seriously when it's doing it, but I think it is worth it. And I'm
I also think it's very
excited
worth
that
it.
a season 2 is immediately announced, because while I think this is a great start, it's very much a start, and like we're just starting to develop a lot of the background characters, and I think this could be a really cool, like, longer running shonen. I like it. I'm gonna
Dude,
be real.
that's actually what I like the most about the show. Like, because they're like young kids, I know we're gonna get a big time skip, and like, ooh, that makes me so excited.
I wanted a time skip from the beginning
Juan-
I
because
did.
it feels weird having this like very more
I
dark
kinda
and
like
grim
the
story,
kids,
and there are like a bunch
though.
of like 9-year-olds,
I
and
kind
I'm
of
like,
like
what 9-year-old
I
is
don't
like?
say this often, but I
you
really
know.
like the cast of kids, and I think the fact that they are kids and, you know, strong for their age makes a lot of their fights more interesting. But like, they still get challenged. I don't know, if they get older, I feel like they'll just be OP.
I wish
This
they were,
show
like,
is Fire Emblem, and I love it.
16
It
or
is Fire
something.
Emblem.
I wish they were a little bit older.
sure,
That's all
that
I
makes
want.
sense.
16, 15,
Well,
17,
the
something like
one
that.
sword guy is a little bit older. But yeah.
Yeah, they should all be like that.
Anyway,
He's
Logan was-
literally like, he's 10 in this.
yeah, the main guy is
Anime?
like 10. I
Yeah,
think.
the main guy is 10.
Which, by the
which
way, a
is
lot of
like-
10-year-olds are fucking killing a lot of people.
That's so fucked.
It is.
I cannot. I
But it's
cannot
war.
take the show seriously when I think that he's 10 and he's doing all this shit.
Murder.
you know?
I mean, it's also the 1300s. You know, like
Yeah, shit was crazy.
30
back
is
then.
is old.
1300. They were not they were not samurai chopping heads off when they were 10 and
No, I
the
probably
back in
not.
the age.
Anyway, we've been on this for a while.
Logan wanted to say something, but I interrupted
Yeah.
him, and now he hasn't said anything since.
I totally forgot what I wanted to say.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe it'll come
It's
back
Either
to
way,
you.
shout outs to Cloverworks. I despite the the very fragmented use of terrible CGI, I think I can forgive them. I think the rest of the production is impressive enough that, like, kudos.
Yeah, I hope that season 2 has a higher budget, so that way it is more consistent animation wise.
And even if it's not, as long as they have the sequences like they have in the first one and it stands out that way, I'm good. I was very
Yeah.
happy that season 2 was immediately announced for this one. I was like, yes, good. I want more. All right. Next up, for a completely different tone, is Senpai wo Otokonoko. Or Senpai is Otokonoko. How helpful.
Haha.
So I like gushed a bunch about really liking this manga, and I can say that this is a perfectly fine adaptation. That's kind of my review of it. I would recommend you read the manga instead of watching this, just because I think it's a bit paced a bit better, and the anime tends to rely on this chibi art style that the manga uses a little too much. And I think
was totally fine with that.
I don't
actually,
think it was egregious or anything, but I think it slows down the pacing a little bit at times and can make it a little bit boring, and I think it's just easier to read faster. Still,
It definitely made me like disinterested, like when
Still-
it was the chibi art style, like for the first 2-3 episodes.
I
Really?
think
That's interesting.
that despite everything, they do a good job of adapting all of the serious moments, and I think this was a pretty solid anime adaptation and a totally fine way to experience the story. I am a little bummed that we didn't get the whole thing and that we're going to have to conclude with a movie, because I think the place where the anime concludes is like right before the main emotional climax, so you get some resolution.
I mean, that's why they save it for a
Yeah,
movie.
I know. You get some resolution, but I feel a lot of people aren't going to watch it, which is a little sad.
I think they will.
I hope so. You should, watch it. Watch the
Okay,
end.
maybe this gets resolved in the movie,
Mhm.
but I really felt like the love triangle felt out of place, not unresolved. I don't know.
It's not done
felt
yet.
kind of weird to have this love triangle in here when it felt more like the sub B plot going on, but it like they kind of shoved it in your face so much, especially towards the middle when he like confessed and they go on the date, and then
Yeah.
they have this like, oh, do
I
I,
would-
actually like him kind of thing. But it didn't feel like it contributed much to the story and show when it was mostly about, you know, the main guy and him kind of being true to himself. I especially like the finale, not the finale, but yeah, the finale
Yeah,
of the
the show,
anime,
yeah.
where how did they resolved it with him meeting his grandpa and finding he had
Yes,
some interest, but
I
also
love that
how
arc in the manga. Yeah.
he finally confronted his mom about it, and they had like a serious talk, and she like accepted him. They went on like a whole shopping spree. It was like a really nice.
It's sweet. Yeah, I love it's such a
conclusion.
nice. Yeah, it's
Um,
really nice.
It just makes me feel weird about the love triangle because that felt like it was the main focal point for the middle bit, and then it kind of went away towards the end. And we also had the whole bit with the Gu's parents or mom that was like kind of there but not there.
That's going to be what the movie's about.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
I was
going
to say that's what we are. If it feels like she as a character has been completely undeveloped, like not undeveloped, but like there's so much shit that built up into nothing, it's because it's all about to happen.
She is definitely the most interesting character of the three for me.
I think you'll like the movie a lot then, because it's about her and her dad and all that shit. It's so.
Does the love triangle
dad
get any
pisses me
more
off so
development
much.
at all?
Yes. So what I was going to answer is I would recommend, and this will make more sense, I think, when you watch the finale, but I would look at the love triangle as a framing device to explore other aspects of all of their characters. And so the love triangle is something that shifts and changes as different people kind of fall in and out of love, or maybe they were never in love in the first place and they just wanted to be. And so it morphs around as to who is actually into who. And I think the way it concludes, I personally like a lot. So, but what, again, it was more of, as the relationships are a mechanism to explore other parts of their lives and other problems that they have. Now, granted, I think one of those problems or one of those things is the relationship between the two boys that, you know, which is
okay. I was going to say, I hope the relationship like tackles Ryuji's feeling heavily, because it really felt like that was kind of introduced and like.
I mean, I think they've mostly resolved it between the two of them, between the two boys. So, like,
I feel like his like feelings gets mainly like cucked, if I where it's not really important, and he's just there to confess his feeling for him, to be like, oh, maybe it's okay to like a guy or something, but like it kind of felt like there was no purpose or no resolution for him, and the show is mainly about Saki and Makoto.
I
and
think the conclusion of the manga leaves them all in a really good spot, so I hope that you find it to be more satisfying. That's like I said, I was a little disappointed where it stopped, because I'm like, damn, we're really not going to get the conclusion to any of this, but that's okay. How would you guys
okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how would you guys say you like this one overall, having not read it just as it is right now?
I think it's a good show. Like, it's definitely like I said, like the first 2-3 episodes being like mainly chibi, like kind of maybe kind of disinterested in the show, but like once it like got serious, I'm like, okay, no, this is a good show.
Yeah,
like,
cool. How about you, Tim?
Being able to explore the gender identity,
it's unique,
issue.
Really, there aren't many shows that get as deep into this stuff, which is really cool.
For sure. Like I said, I think Makoto's resolution that he came to, and him coming to terms with his gender thing, was very neat, and I liked it a lot. I think Saki is probably the most interesting of the three, with her tackling her feelings of what it means to like someone, and her,
or just to like anything.
Things going on with her like parents, with her mom and dad, is interesting. Because the mom actually came in, she was like, "Oh, she's trouble, I'm getting near her," and then like
the mom shows
the
up.
next scene, they're like, "Oh, you can hang out with her now," and I'm like, "What happened?" There's a lot of interesting things with Saki that I really like. Ryuji feels cocked, honestly. He's just there to be the supporting friend that pushes the other two along. I haven't seen anything develop with him or see any promise or purpose with him, so I'm a little disappointed by that. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with this adaptation.
Nice. All right, watch the movie when it comes out. Otherwise, but in the meantime, you can definitely watch this now. I liked it. Okay, now we gotta talk about one of the big ones. Who should start this? Do you want to? Because I know Juan.
I think you and Logan should start, because you guys dropped it after like 2-3 episodes. So.
I watched 4. All right. Look, did we hype this one up in the preseason? Yes, we did. And you know what? We all got tricked by a really good trailer. You can cut a bunch of funny images together to fast-paced music, and you can be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a screwball wacky comedy. I can just tell this will be great. The problem is that if all you have are wacky images and they're spaced between some of the worst comedy dialogue I've ever seen in my entire life, also incredibly repetitive, also incredibly derivative and boring, like this is one of the worst comedies I've ever seen in anime, and I hate having to say that, it's just I was by episode 1 I was like, okay, that's way more or less funny than I thought it was going to be. Let's see how it develops. And then episode 2 was so bad. I was like, oh my god. It's just I don't know. Someone else can take
Episode 2
over.
was with the sister, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
that
just
was not a
like
great
it's
episode.
just and like it's repetitive and it does the sort of suke or bome whatever the comedy
Tsukome Boke.
Tsukame Boke thing, but like she is the worst straight man of all time. She literally just says what's happening at all times. And I hate comedy like that. Anyway, we dropped it. I gave it way more time than I thought because Juan was in denial still and really liking it, or at least not really liking it, but wanting to like it, I think. And so I kept watching it to episode 4, but I wanted to fucking kill myself, so I had to drop it. I just couldn't stand it anymore.
Logan, you have anything to add to that?
It's like chaotic, quote unquote, but in like a really stock sort of way by the standards of anime. Like none of the characters are actually all that like unique in the grand scheme of things, and they do like meta jokes, but those have been like old hat for a very long time, and
Nothing was even that meta. Also, like they didn't do anything.
Not really that what we saw, but like I was going around, I was looking at apologetics for this show just to see what fans of this show thought of it, and like that was what I would see a lot. It's like, oh, it's got some meta humor, that's fun. And it's like, I guess it's fun for you, man.
Also, but, I was happy to see that a lot of people that like, and I shouldn't say happy, but I feel vindicated at least. A lot of people, like a lot of the Reddit hype died for this one. Like I was expecting people to just continue to insist it was funny and be wrong, because that's usually how anime fans are. Sorry, anime fans watching this video. But they were all kind of like, everyone kind of turned on it. They're like, oh, this isn't funny. And I was like, oh, thank God I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest victim of that was me, because man, I really wanted to like this show. I personally, I still think like episode 1 was like pretty funny. Like the setup is like, it's Shikanoko. She's a deer. She does wacky shit. Wow, look at her go. And like visually, it's very funny. Like Studio Wit is like going off the walls with like the animation to like make it as funny as possible. But like as the show goes on, you realize that none of these characters like have any meat to them. Like it is just the author really like came up with the concept of dear girl who does wacky shit and thought like, it writes itself. I don't have to do anything. And man, you really gotta do actual writing to actually make something funny.
There just aren't jokes. There aren't jokes. They forgot to put jokes in the joke anime.
And the pacing of the like comedy itself is just so damn slow.
It is glacial. At least in what we watched.
So, because Chris and Logan dropped it after like episode 4, I'm like, no, this show is like kind of funny. Like, I'm still kind of enjoying myself with it. I'm gonna keep watching this show. And then I got to like episode 6, and I have never been more pissed off at an anime than episode 6 of Shikanoko.
What was episode 6?
It adapts a bunch of 4 comas in the first half of the episode. They have the gall to claim like, this is episode 6. This is the halfway point. Let's celebrate by doing a bunch of short stories. You're basically getting 18 episodes in one episode. Isn't that great? And none of them, and I say wholeheartedly, none of the jokes that they make with the 4 coma stuff was funny. Absolutely none of them. I'm so easy to make laugh. Like you have like any sort of like build up and punchline, I usually laugh at that. None of them. Not a single fucking one of those little setups were funny. A lot of them were just like non-jokes. They're like, oh, isn't it weird that this kind of thing happens? And you're like, oh yeah, it is. And then they move on to the next thing. I'm like,
you know what pisses me off is when they're like, oh, remember this like earth-shattering thing that just happened in the last scene? Oh yeah, it didn't happen. Don't worry about it. It's over now.
Oh, they do that. They do that so much.
It's winter now. Don't worry about it.
They do that so much.
They do.
Like the show actively hates the viewer for like trying to
that's-
be invested.
That's what it was. That's what I forgot to say when I was watching this. This show thinks that you are stupid. It is the most joke explained comedy show I think I have ever seen. They over explain every single joke, including jokes that are like, she's a deer. Isn't that funny? It's fucked,
no, like
man.
another example of like the show hating the viewer. Like in the same episode of episode 6, the second half of the episode, they're like, we're going into summer. The original manga took 3 years to get to summer. Isn't that wacky? Well, we're going to summer right now. And then right after that, it skips to the winter and it's like, wow, that sure was a fun summer vacation. And then Coach Sun's like, man, I didn't even get to show off my swimsuit. What the fuck? Why even write it? Like, why even do that? What's the fucking point?
That is pretty deranged.
So, in the last episode, granted, it was still very unfunny, but like they stepped away from doing the same repetitive gag over and over again and actually try to do something different and wacky. And I could see like the smallest glimpse of like this is what the show could have been, which like I said, it was still very unfunny of a episode, but like I could see them trying new things and trying to, you know, change things up. And I so wish that they did that from the get-go. And like maybe, just maybe the show could have redeemed itself or had something going if it did that from the get-go and not just save for the last episode. And that's probably just me huffing like 10 tanks of copium, but like I could see like them putting a little bit of effort in that last episode. And
I mean, like, I think it's just like the author is just like not experienced in writing comedy. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
what did this author do? Oh, I'm gonna look this up
I
now.
don't remember.
I don't know. But like,
Shikanoka.
to me, like, congratulations to the marketing. You tricked me. You did it. Good job. Like,
Good job, Whit.
I feel betrayed by this show. Like, this was supposed to be like brain rot, like a fun brain rot anime, and like in a way, it is. Like
No, I think in a way
this show has been rotting in my brain for the past 3 months, festering like an illness.
The opening has been rotting in your brain for like 3 months.
opening's
Dude,
pretty sketchy
Because
still.
that's all this show is. This show is just the opening, and that is all it is.
It is definitely a good OP.
So annoying.
I can't believe that the opening is the best part of the show.
We have to at least give it that. I will say it sours a little bit when it's just kind of emphasizing all the things that are bad about it. It's repetitive deer based, but like, you know, it's a good
I
OP.
was sick of the opening by like the second day because people kept playing
Well,
it
yeah, it was-
every
yeah,
2
it was
seconds,
such a
and I was
meme.
so checked out of that song.
Anyway,
I mean, admittedly, like the OP will probably make my top 10 of the year.
It will not make my top 10.
I
Get
will
the fuck
see.
out of here.
There's some pretty good ones, so I'm not sure where it is for me, but
I don't think it's gonna be high, but I think it's gonna make the top 10.
Okay, this Shokonoka person has not made
much else.
anything else.
Well, then
but
I will-
They did draw the design for Kanata from Hololive.
Fascinating.
And that's all
Cool.
they put it for.
Fascinating. Okay, so we'll see. Maybe the author will make something else bad, or maybe they'll level it up. Who knows? All right.
I mean, like like that's what Tim was saying, that like by the end of the
gotta-
first season, that like
yeah.
the comedy writing was like getting better, kind of.
Okay.
They tried. They put more effort. It wasn't the same gag
Maybe
like
they just thought
repeated
they
for
had
the
to
20th
to not
time.
embarrass
Yeah.
themselves at the
And
end.
I wish they will, you know, they tried something new from episode 2 and not episode 12. Like,
Right.
The
may-
fucking
maybe it could've been
choir
better.
joke. I thought it was so funny at first, but then they did it
Quiet joke.
Yeah, whenever like someone gets like hit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Shika,
Yeah.
Shika, and like I
gotcha.
thought it was pretty funny episode 1, and then it happened every single episode. I'm like,
yeah.
and most of the time they did not even like hit at all. Like it wasn't even like a punchline. I don't know. We can move on. I'm tired of talking
Yeah.
about this show.
All right, Tim, tell us about Shoshiman series, and probably also make it fast if we can get through these last couple.
Man, this show is gorgeous, hands down. But at the same time, it's so dropped in boring. It is. The writers literally sat down and thought to themselves, you know what would be interesting, really riveting for people to watch? Watching people argue how you can make hot chocolate with only 2 cups when you needed 3 cups. Let's spend 20 minutes discussing how they could possibly pull that off. That doesn't sound like peak similar to you. Now, that being said, all the show really needed to have was a point, some kind of twist, a gag. Literally anything to keep you invested into the show, what's going on. And I guess the writers must have heard my complaint mid-season, because the second half of the season was like immediately better. They added that extra thing to keep you invested. They changed things up. They like, instead of having, you know, the main guy deduce the mystery like they always do, they had him be on the opposite side where he was like the culprit and the side character good was someone catching him and he had to like hide the evidence. And I was like, okay, they changed things up. That's a nice change of pace, you know. And they kept changing it, they kept escalating it, and it escalated to like the point where like a character got kidnapped and they added like real like serious stake to the show. And while the majority of the show is still, you know, the characters just talking, because that's what like Hyoka / Soshiman series is, they had a reason for me to give 2 shits about what's going on, and it worked. And it's really all the show really needed, and I don't know why they didn't do that from the get-go. And they had all these like stupid pointless mysteries of how you can make hot chocolate. I don't know. I could see the potential in the show living up to it, and I'm very interested to see how the next season goes now that these characters and relationships have evolved past episode 1. Because that's another thing that I think Hyoka had a problem with, because the main 2 characters, Aaron, whatever his face is, never really changed. It was just them sitting room arguing, and you could see these characters kind of grow as these 6 escalate and they change, and it was kind of nice to see that as well. But yeah, the show was actually not bad. It was just so fucking boring for the first bit. And I question the author and the writers of why they let that happen, because I was literally falling asleep for like some of these episodes. It was awful. But yeah, maybe just skip the first like 2 episodes if you watch the show. I don't know.
Okay, good to know. All right, next up is Toki Doki Bosoto Russia go Dereru Tonari no Alia-san, or Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian, or the show that everyone kept fucking talking about, even though I had no indication at any point that it was any good this season.
So, Alia started off like a promising romance with a competent MC. A romantic pair where the MC actually became a chat at times, and you didn't have to scream, you know, why does she like this generic loser with no redeeming quality? And you know, you could see the potential in him. He wasn't just a 2-dimensional self-insert then. However, the romance quickly takes a back seat after the first 3-4 episodes, where you had this, you know, those like confession, not confession thing. We slowly entered this phase that I like to call the what the fuck am I watching phase, and we enter a very riveting student council election arc. And not the Kaguya-sama, you know, let's be entertaining and quirky and move on with our life, but rather let's spend the next rest of the season, plus probably a good chunk of the next season that already got announced, to have this long, drawn-out student drama quibble, because that is also peak seminar for some reason. So much so that the finale climax of this season ended on them having a student debate. And, you know, that's, you know, how could you not imagine anything more exciting? And it's not like the Trump hearers pull out your popcorn kind of debate, but like an actual, just flat out, what you would imagine from a high school student council debate. Cool. Now, props to them. I do think the debate was entertaining, or at least as entertaining as you could make a semi-serious student debate, but still, at the end of the day, it's literally a debate. Now, I've examined what could have possibly kept everyone so interested in the show that it remains, I think, a top 10 seasonal anime in Mao, if I remember correctly. And to that conclusion, I think this show started off as a romance show, and it quickly devolved into a waifu show. And that's literally what this has come down to. You have the gremlin troll little sister that everybody likes to like make memes, and you've probably seen like 10 clips of. You have the kind Ara senpai in the student council, and then you have obviously the tsundere MC Russian girl who can't be honest with her feelings. And those 3 in the comedic and fan service bits that are sprinkled into the show can somehow make even a high school politic interesting for the masses.
Huge.
Now, at least they were tactful with the fan service and they were more creative with the gags than the, randomly throwing your boobs in the main character's face, except for like the 2 times they actually did do that. But they were like at least creative, playful with it that kept it refreshing and not the same drawn out gags in every single rom-com. But if you want a waifu show disguised as like a romance slash high school politic drama show, then I guess Ida's the perfect show for you. Yeah, that's it. It started off it started off as a potentially decent, good romance, and it quickly just evolved into waifus with a side of politics for some reason.
Okay. That is about what I would expect. Maybe not the politics stuff, but it did evolve into waifu bait, and that's why anyone gave a shit about it.
I promise you that's why that show was
they
popular.
spent the last 30 minutes on a high school debate. It boggles my mind how anyone thought that was a good idea.
All right, let's talk about the most best looking show of the season.
What, VTuber?
No, Wistoria.
Oh shit, you right. I completely missed that. Go on.
Now, we talked about Isekai Suicide Squad, which had like, above average visuals, but like falls flat with the story because it was so mid. And to Wistoria's, benefit, it does have those even better visuals, but like at least it has a semi-competent story. It's not the most original or riveting thing, but like it was enough to keep you, I don't want to say interested, but like entertained throughout. And that's really what stands out from it. It just, the story, nothing. The main stand out for this show is hands down the visuals. That like every episode there's like this Sakuga mind blowing thing that they do every episode. So it's not like, oh, here's just 30 seconds for the show and this is why you watch it, like Danmachi or something. And it doesn't. Everything else is at least competently good enough where it doesn't boggle down the visual. Where like the characters in the story at least can like support the visual at the very least. It is as cliche of a story as you can get. It's been done and told. This main character is powerless. He doesn't have a quirk. He doesn't have a magic. And he wants to become the strongest. So he somehow, through grit, works his way to the top, kind of deal. True and told story. Nothing new there, but it's at the end of the day, it's really honestly the visual that carries it, and the story's not that bad. But I don't know. This might be a fun watch when you need something else to watch, but it's not something I would be like, oh, this is
you don't think the visuals are worth it.
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, go. But it's a nice benefit. I would put us above other shows because of the visuals, but it's not like top of the list kind of thing.
Sure. Okay.
I know. All right, VTuber Juan, take us away.
All right. VTuber Nandaga Haishin Kiri Wasureta Densetsu ni Nateta. Chris, give me the English name.
That is VTuber Legend, how I went viral after forgetting to turn off my stream.
Yeah, luckily, this is a light novel adaptation, so the light novel just kind of describes what the show is. A girl becomes a VTuber, and she's not popular, but then she gets drunk and fucking goes off, and that makes her popular. So now I watched the first 2 episodes, and like I enjoyed what I watched. I really did. But like this is a show specifically made for VTuber fans. Like the entire show is all about the culture of VTubers and like how the comedy it surrounds the VTuber culture. And like that's a very cool idea. But unfortunately, like I had to like watch it like by myself, and like it just didn't feel fun to watch it by myself. So like I didn't get around to watching it. Tim, you watched the whole show. How'd you feel about it?
This show is everything I wanted from Shikanoko and more. It is unfiltered, unhinged, off its rockets, parody, dirty, everything that you would want from a kind of raunchy-ish comedy show off its and I really wish people would give this one a chance over than Shikanoko. I one. I mean, yes, this is for V. I mean, they are VTubers, so there's a lot of things that would make sense for like VTuber culture if you were like in the know. But like, I think this is also a totally fine show. It's surface level enough that if you're not into VTuber, don't know how that works, then you can just pretend your average Twitch streamer. I don't know who's the popular.
I mean, like, you
Twitch
gotta have
streamer
like
these
some sort of
days.
like idea of like internet culture, right?
Yeah, if you don't, but I mean, well, I think we know internet culture.
Yeah.
If you know any Twitch streamers or anything, if you know any streamers at all, I think you would be in the know enough.
Right.
It's fun that they like reference and play real games. Like they play like Getting Over It, and she gets drunk and mad about it.
That is fun.
You have, the like Maneka punch with the Yuki becoming the streamer VTuber thing. That gag was in this one too. It was also the same VA, which was kind of funny, ironic that she was in twice. It was nice to see the comedy enhanced, but it also got serious and heartwarming at times too, which I thought was like pleasantly surprised that it could manage to pull them off and balance the two, since they feel very whiplashy from each other. And I probably will like force one down and watch the rest of the show again with him, because I really think that he would enjoy the show.
Well, there you go.
All right,
And
well, we'll
anyone
find
else
time.
who feels cucked from Shikanoko should also probably just sit down and watch the show.
Okay.
We'll find time,
yeah.
Tim. We'll
It's been good.
find
We'll make
some
it. We'll make it work. I'm not Chris. We'll make it work.
Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll give it at least the cursory glance.
It is very dirty and very raunchy. So you may not like it as much, Chris, because I
Right.
don't know how much that humor like appeals to you. But that's only like half the joke.
I'm gonna say the forbidden word. It's an ecchi bros show, isn't it?
And 100% is not. I think this was like a born-made ecchi show,
Ecchi
and
Bros was
I'm
not the-
so sad
was
we didn't
not
watch
the-
this.
Bad thing to say. Okay. Good to know.
Anyways,
All right, we have
now
one.
the big ticket
We
item.
have the finale. We have decided to list Oshi no
You thought we
Ko
would forget about this show. You thought.
as last, sort of drum up the hype.
Save the best for last, as they say.
That's right. I don't want to start with this one. Someone else. Take it away.
Really?
There's so much to say.
My God, did they elevate the visuals in the show? Maybe not all of it, but like those scenes. You know what scenes we're talking about?
Yeah.
Some of the best I've ever seen. I love this premise in general. Like I love this. Oshiko has always been like given a behind the scene look into the entertainment industry. You saw a lot of it, in season 1, season 2 is no exception. I love this one in particular because it tackles the difficulties of adapting works like a manga to a different medium.
And that
In this
was
case,
just
it was
one
stage
part of
play.
it.
And that's so like relevant to us as anime fans consuming this, to see the struggles and the difficulty of bringing from one mean to the other, and it really hits on our parts. And the author's mindset from like maybe had similar issues when he was doing his stuff.
Oh, I'm sure some of this it has to be based in reality. He had to adapt to anime.
Like, maybe not even him, but maybe like someone he knew had a similar issue and he had it too. Like I know a lot of this is probably based off of like people he knows experience, and it's great to see this like insight behind it. I think people are kind of split on how much focus the stage play got compared to the revenge story or romance kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not in that boat. I think, well, I don't know, maybe the stage play could have been like one episode quicker, but like for the most part, I was totally fine with the pace of the show and the story. I love how they played these characters out and how they like reflected themselves throughout this work, especially Aqua's, trying to become an actor. We got to see Akane's backstory and how her like what drove her to become an actress.
I
and her
loved the
relationship with
development
Kana.
between her and Kana. That was
Great. I love that.
such a good
There was so many
development.
great character moments between them. Kana had a great moment in season 1 already where she was kind of breaking her shell, but you could see that she's still you could see fragments of her old self still in season 2, and you could kind of see her try to break through. And there was so many great scenes in the stage play arc. The second part too was also crazy, with them finally moving forward the murder mystery plot.
Oh my god,
And
the end.
Let's save that for a little bit later. I want to
Anything
focus
more
on
stage play arc.
dude.
Do you want to talk more about those scenes?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. Holy shit! The way the show like elevates like the really like mundane scenes, like the side characters, like entire motivation, and how they absolutely popped off with the animation for trying to like convey how he feels in that moment. It's so cool. And then a little bit later on during the idol mini arc, where like the music producer like can't find the inspiration to like make the song, and then Ruby like reaches out to him and is like, hey, let me give you some inspiration. And like you could see like his mind's process of like being inspired, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah,
that is a very nice nod that they did there. There were so many good moments. Ocean Kill. I love this series so much. It's
to call it and I can't believe I would even say this just because of how consistently good season 1 was. When I say that, I think season 2 blew it out of the water. I think season
really
2
did.
was an incredible upgrade from season 1. This is just like Aka Akasaka's my goat. Exceptional storytelling backed by a like, and I'm not trying to throw shade on the Kaguya production, which I think is close to this level of good. Like it is definitely polished. It works great.
It blows
But,
everything
like,
out of the water.
Doga
Animation
easily
wise.
blows Kaguya out of the water.
Doga Koba is adapting the shit out of this. It is just fucking phenomenal visuals, some of the best in the industry, and it's really exciting to see that. I'm having such a good time. I
And
think
the way that Aqua and Ruby, whenever they get like consumed by the dark emotions, holy shit, those scenes are bone chilling.
I thought we were, yeah.
Well,
Especially when like Ruby becomes consumed, that was like chill. Because we always knew Aqua was already kind of the and stuff, but when Ruby gets turned, that hit a lot for me.
Yeah,
they're just
fuck.
trading the Sharingan.
Before we go full into it, Logan, anything else to say about the first half of the show?
You do not know how glad I am that this didn't turn out to be the love triangle season like I was kind of afraid of at the end of season 1.
Oh, it's because there was a winner. Ha ha ha! Ding ding ding. Insane.
Yeah, and I guess kind of allude to something at the end. I did actually kind of like the way that they at least sort of wrapped that up. For the moment, I thought that was a pretty solid episode with both of the girls, and I also really liked that it was mostly like in the like front half there was some like allusion to the love triangle, but it was mostly about like Kana and Akane as characters kind of bouncing off of each other rather than any focus on the actual romance.
The real ship should have been Kana and Akane.
There's
That's
still
what I've
time.
seen
There's still
online.
time, Juan. The manga's not done yet.
No,
Yep, and then Aqua is free to get together with Ruby.
Yucky yuck. Even though I know that it's probably going to happen.
I want to cut that. I want to cut that.
No, I mean, I'm almost certain it is going to be explored in some way as a genuine narrative beat in the later show. I don't think it's going to end up happening, but I think it's going to be explored.
Chat, do they know?
Oh, Chris
Chat, do they know? I don't know.
Chris doesn't know.
No,
Chat doesn't know.
I'm trying to fucking keep it out of it. I'm not spoiling myself.
All right, let's talk about the.
Hold on. I had one more thing to say because Juan only kind of alluded to it, and I just wanted to make it explicit. The episode where they just kind of go out of their way to take a random like relative background character from season 1, give him like a full characterization through the span of an entire episode, and then like use the like maybe highest point of animation in the entire season again on a background character who they just fleshed out for this one episode. I think it was incredible. I thought it was a really wonderfully like self-contained story, and I liked it a lot. It might be my favorite part.
Did a better job building Melt up to like show that he's an important character and building his struggles. The anime kind of just went from like 0 to 100 with him.
I think his.
I think
performance
that works in
season
its
one
favor,
was good,
though.
But yeah, also
It did. The impact hit harder, but like he was like in the manga, they were obviously trying to build him up to be like he was, a shitty actor, but he was like trying to become better and struggling after his encounter with Aqua.
Right.
It was pretty obvious from the manga that it was building up to that, but it didn't have the fucking Sakuga scene for his transformation. That was, ooh. And then the other one too.
God,
all the Sakuga scenes. Oh, so good.
We don't have a Sakuga award.
We used to.
I want it.
We got rid of it.
I don't.
I want it
remember
back.
getting rid of it. Well, we had best animation. I mean, but
Yeah, that's Sakuga.
if you we would have to do something like best Sakuga cut, but I feel like that's too niche. I
I mean,
know.
best animation is best Sakuga.
Yeah.
That's
Not necessarily, because
can
there's
argue about this
like
later
like
off air.
Makeine has good animation, but like not Sakuga.
It has
you
lots
know?
of Sakuga. What are you talking about? It has a ton.
All right, we'll get into it later.
Okay.
Anyways, I don't think we should bring it back just because it's so. I mean, unless there's like a standout like this, it's so hard in like a normal year
Yeah,
to
probably.
like remember every single Sakuga scene. That's
I
how
I remember a lot.
Whatever.
It's the moments.
Hey guys,
are so hard.
hey, everyone,
Yeah.
everyone. A
Okay.
dead body, ladies and gentlemen. Wowzers.
Go fuck yourself, Logan.
Okay. Anyway, so
The second half of this show is crazy.
I am so sad that this had to air in a very stacked at the very top year, because I think in most years this would be a clear anime of the year for me. I think it's still competitive. I'm not gonna like.
Oh, it's very
I'm not
competitive.
gonna
It's
like rule it.
very,
I'm
very
not gonna rule it out
competitive.
for some people. Like I think it is definitely up there. I was blown away by this season. It really fired on all cylinders and is establishing itself as one of the best things that's going on in the industry right now. It is just completely excellent across the board. I think I would give this season like a 9.5 on Mal if I could. I don't think it's quite at 10 status for me yet, but it is really close.
Oh, this both season 1 and season 2 is like a 10 for me. Like I might bump season 1 down to a 9 to like really elevate.
That's
how-
crazy.
Well,
I
no,
think you can both.
That's my
I think they're
problem.
both
I
that
have them
good.
both as 9, so it's just. But I do think 2 is better. I just don't know how to signify that except by giving it a 10. Actually, I don't think it quite hits that status for me yet. I think season 3 has the potential to. So
I mean, like
This
the
is
way the
why-
season ends, I'm like, I've never been more invested in it.
it was. I got
They
by a lot of the
swap
scenes.
places.
I got by a lot of things in this season, and then that's a pretty special feeling in anime.
Okay.
Ruby's the dark one now. It's
Yeah, Ruby's dark arc.
happening. I'm
Okay.
so excited.
So again, like as we stated from the beginning, that spoilers abound. The dad being revealed to us,
Yeah.
and not the characters.
Yes, but the fact that we don't really know anything about him.
I'm sure slowly
Like,
but
it's
surely
nice-
we're gonna
it's
learn
nice
about
to
him.
know that we know who's the big boogeyman is, but he's still just like a boogeyman. We don't know literally anything about him other than his name. I think we know his name.
But like knowing that, like I mean, like the whole season is like building up to like, oh, we're gonna find out who the dad is. Oh, he's dead, and then like we as the audience like, oh, we know he's not dead. He's
Well, we
lurking
knew-
around in the background.
We knew pretty obviously he wasn't dead in the next episode when Akane was like, "Oh shit, Aqua doesn't realize the big flaw in his thoughts. He's not actually dead." So like we knew pretty quickly he wasn't dead. It's just we didn't know who he was until that scene. And obviously he seems.
But like the
pretty
scene
fucked up
at
considering-
the of
he
Ruby like
killed-
visiting the grave is really good. Like
It
him
is,
like
yeah.
sneaking up on her.
that reveal was. There's so many good things about the show. I love it.
And then obviously like what Logan said, like finding the doctor's body, like
Oh, that is the moment I was talking about when I got. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this.
like
right now.
the build up to that episode, like Ruby's like, oh man, there was this doctor that I knew. I want to meet him again, and like I thought like, oh, they're gonna pay that off in season 3. No, they pay it off immediately after building it up is insane.
Immediately.
Yeah,
And you
the
feel
zoom in on the badge too on his coat was. Oh.
that hurts so much. Oh my god.
And then the episode ended there. It was
But, I mean, like, we caught up to then, and then like the finale was gonna air the next day. And we're like, Chris, we have to watch this now.
Right now.
We have to
Yeah.
watch it ASAP.
Yeah, we had. To
I had
do
to
it.
wait a week and a half for that fucking episode. That was painful.
We had to wait 24 hours, and like even then, like those 24 hours were agonizing.
Yeah. Anyway, watch Oshinoko. Watch season 1.
Well, but before we finish, I want to point out that the end credit scene of the finale, it goes into the dad in a riverbank
Killing
over
another chick.
another killing someone, not necessarily killing them, standing over the dead body of someone who has the same sparkle.
They seem pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, the sparkle is hard to describe because it's important, but we don't like. He's specifying
Because like
it's
he
important,
also
but we
has
don't
the
know
sparkle.
what it means.
He has the
Yes.
sparkle as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like a trait. Like a
No.
genetic trait thing.
The
I think
sparkle is
it's a
meant to
more-
like it's supposed to be a visual for the audience.
It's supposed to be some kind of like abstract representation of something because it comes and goes with Ruby and Aqua, and
Sure.
obviously the sparkle changes when they get all demented and shit.
When they get
And
emotional.
sometimes
We're getting. I think we're
even
getting a
Aqua
little too deep
can
into
make a
Oshinoko
sparkle.
theory here. But anyway,
I want to get into Oshinoko theory. I believe that this man is killing the children, his
think that
illegitimate
is
children,
a
before they
viable-
before they can
I
expose
think that
him.
I
I
don't
want it
think
on the
so.
record right now before season 3 happens.
a
I ain't reading the
reasonable
manga.
theory.
I'm fucking loving this
I-
anime.
I think the sparkle represents the like artistic talent or some shit like that. They're like potential as stars,
That
and then
You're actually very
snuffing
potentially
them
right.
out.
Fuck, I did not consider that. I
I do not
legitimately.
think he's hunting his kids down, especially considering how old that lady is. I don't know.
She looked like early 20s.
He
I don't
looks
know.
like fucking Ice Age if she was still
think-
alive.
I think that it could be either. I think those are valid theories. I'm holding out. I am a little skeptical of both, so I'm kind of holding out for something else.
I want it on the record that I believe he's killing his illegitimate children. If I'm right,
Then why is Ruby
I'm
still alive?
well. That's the thing. He's like, oh, you've grown up to be a good woman, Ruby. Would be ashamed for me to kill you if you find out about me.
He would have probably introduced her the moment,
it's
like,
okay.
"Oh, I
This
know
is
your
like I
mom.
said,
Let's
we're
talk
in
about her,"
speculation
and
land.
then kill her.
Anyway,
Okay. Anyways, let's move on. Oshinoko, 10 out of
Fucking
10.
excellent.
Everyone should watch it.
Everyone, Oshinoko should be a show everyone should be watching.
Top 3 shows for the season. Let's wrap up.
Okay.
Waiting 2 hours.
Banning Oshinoko as a top.
No, we're
we should
banning
not
it?
ban
Okay, fine. No, I'm
Oshinoko.
joking. It's the review, but whatever you want.
It's a review episode.
fuck
We
that.
we should count every show.
Okay.
Okay. For me, shit. Why do I always forget that we do this? Okay. Obviously Oshinoko number 1. Nika Jozu. Definitely like in my top 3. And Maka Heroine. Obviously Maka Heroine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are my 3.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1. At number 3, Nige Jozu for being an absolutely buck wild experience, but ultimately a fun and fulfilling one. Number 2, Maka Heroine. We sung its praises. I think it's extremely well done. And then number 1 is Oshinoko as the stellar standout.
So the same 3 as me.
I would say if I couldn't count Oshinoko and was focused on new stuff and not sequels, I would put Mayonaka Punch probably at number 3.
All right. Logan.
All right, so top to bottom, number 1 is Oshinoko, great elevation from season 1. Number 2 is Nige Jozu, even with some quality issues, I quite liked it. And number 3 is my cat's birthday party. That was a lot of fun.
There you go. Tim?
Should we get a real number 3 from Logan?
No. He
No.
didn't
There
really
is
watch-
no number
yeah,
3.
didn't
he
watch
There
it.
isn't
watched
a
4
third one.
shows
We
this
only watched-
season.
Yeah, so what's his favorite? There's 4 shows.
I dropped 2 of them. I didn't finish the other 2.
So, that's
Okay.
how that-
Number 1, Oshinoko. It's the GOAT. It was no surprise there. Number 2, Spice and Wolf. It won my end of the year back then. It still stands up. It reminds me why it was so good. I still love it. And 3 is the Kawasu Raven anime. I don't think I did justice
Really?
displaying it, how good it is, but it is special. It is unique. It is unlike most animes out there, and it hits.
Wow.
All right, there we go. There you have it. Those are our takes on the summer season of anime. It was actually pretty good. We had a good time. Join us next time for it should be the mid-season check-in on the fall. So you'll get all of our reactions to
Yes.
the new shows that we're watching.
Yeah, we watched a couple episodes so far, but we definitely got more to watch.
Including fun updates on Uzumaki, which you'll see.
And
Or maybe you won't.
which we totally finished watching, right?
Yeah. All right.
By then, yeah.
Until then, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by.
Later.